Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to make character resources work in DMHub. By this I mean things like a bard's inspiration dice, a monk's key points, a sorcerer's sorcerer points, or a battle master's battle dice. I kind of find the most interesting resources to be the ones that are actually dice and you get to roll them as they're used, and they're kind of more complicated than other kinds of resources, so we're going to use them as our example. What I specifically actually want to do is I'm going to make up my own subclass, and I'm going to call it the Bear Slayer. And the Bear Slayer, it's kind of like the Battle Master. It would maybe make sense for some area where you have a remote tribe that considers Bear Slayers to be the most powerful warriors. And it's going to be a subclass of the fighter, and it's going to have these special resources. So we're going to go to the resources tab, and we'll call them Slayer dice. So a Slayer die is a basic resource. And you can give it a grouping of class specific, which kind of puts it along with your other dice, which are given to a specific to you as sort of a class resource. And you can give it an icon, and we'll choose. We're gonna say that a Slayer die starts off as a D6. And so we'll give it a color, like we'll make it red, and then we'll say it refreshes on a short rest. And importantly, dice by resources, sorry, by default do not have they're not dice. You can say, hey, this is actually a type of die. You can say this is a D6, and so we've made that, but we're going to make it so that the Bear Slayer's dice improve as the Bear Slayer levels up. So we're going to make a D8 version of it. So we'll call it a Slayer die 8. And we will choose an appropriate icon for it. And then we'll give it a color. And so and then importantly, as well as putting the die type of the D8, we can say that this improves upon the basic Slayer die. Basically saying that this is like a level up of the Slayer die. So DMHub knows that once you have a Slayer die, you can potentially improve it into a Slayer die 8. And then we're going to make a Slayer die 10, which will be another improvement again. And so we'll put in all of the basic fields. Again, we'll make it red, and we'll say that this is a D10, and this, of course, improves upon the Slayer die 8. So DMHub knows it goes from a Slayer die to a Slayer die 8 to a Slayer die 10. Now, if we head back over to our subclass, the Bear Slayer, so you'll get him at level 3, and when you get him, he gets you can give him a feature, and this feature says you get 3 Slayer dice, which are D6s. These improve to become D8s at level 9 and to D10s at level 15. And just to be sort of interesting, we'll say also at level 13 and level 19 you get an additional Slayer dice. So you get more Slayer dice, and you also improve improve them. And I know that a normal class description probably wouldn't be like this, but I want to kind of demonstrate some different things at the same time. So I want to do kind of the most complex possible things so that I can show you how it all works, and then it will hopefully work well for your less complex things. So we have to add a modifier, and we add this grant resource modifier. This is the thing that gives you resources. And so we choose the resource, and we can choose the Slayer die. and so you choose the basic version. But DMHub knows that this levels up into better versions of the die, and you'll see here it shows DMHub asks you to specify what's called the resource level, and tells you that if you give a resource level 1, it'll give a Slayer die, resource level 2 a Slayer die 8, and resource level 3 a Slayer die 10. Now, we want it to improve over time. We can type in a custom formula here, or even easier, we can make it a custom table. And so when you first get this subclass at level 3, it'll just be a basic level 1, and then at level 9, it'll go up to the level 2 version, which is a D8, and then at level 15, it'll go to the level 3 version. And likewise, the number of dice you get, it starts at a 3, but we want it in a table, so at level 3 you get 3 of them, and then at level 13 you go up to 4, and level 19 you go up to 5. So you can see how you can make these nice tables for both the quantity and the resource level, or you could just do it for one or the other. And so now that we've done that, let's actually try it out. And so if we go over to our character, we will make sure that they are a level 3 fighter, so that they get their to choose their martial archetype. We'll see our Bear Slayer is now listed. It tells us here what the feature he gets, and then we can try it out. We'll see that he does indeed have 3 of these resource dice, and then we'll see that you can see that they're D6s. If we level him up, and I forget what level we said that he gets each one at, but I think level 10 should be sufficient. At level 10 he should have, we'll see that he's improved his dice. And then what we can do is, if you want an example of how to actually use these dice, let's give him a basic feature that will the Battle Master tends to do some pretty complex stuff, and I might show some more things in a later video. For now, I would just like to show you how you can give him like a basic activated ability, which can actually, sorry, not an activated ability. We'll do a damage modifier. So we're gonna say that whenever he does damage to an enemy, he can use up his Slayer dice to do additional damage. So whenever he lands damage with an attack. So you want to add a modified damage modifier, and we're going to make this only take place on attack damage. You could choose spell damage, ability damage, all damage. And then you could do something like, if you said it's only on melee attacks, you can put that condition here. And then we can choose how much we want to modify the roll. Now, the basic thing you might say is, well, it's a d6, right? So you do an additional 1d6 damage. And that's correct, but remember, our dice can level up. And we do actually want to say that we want to say that it costs one of your Slayer dice to use this, and once you say that it costs a Slayer die, DMHub knows that you're using a special die. So if you go into the formula documentation, it tells us that it gives us this special dice faces number, which is the number of faces the die used to use this feature has. So when you use this dice, it'll look at how many faces your Slayer die has, and that will be put in the dice faces field. So instead of putting a 6, you can put dice faces here. So this will do 1d dice faces. So if you use a 6-sided Slayer die, it'll do an extra 1d6 damage, but if you use an 8-sided die, it'll do an extra 1d8 damage. So let's see how well this works. We'll confirm that, and now when our fighter goes and attacks, and I'll just add a big number here to make sure he hits, so that we don't have to roll over and over again if he misses. And we'll see that when you roll for damage, you get to choose to use this feature. It tells you that it's going to use one of the Slayer dice, and then because we're using a d8, when we check this, it knows that that does an extra 1d8 damage. And so we can roll for our damage. It'll use up our dice. We only have 2 left now, and we can see that that is the basics of how to use resources in DMHub.